Hey guys, Marianne here. I want to share with you about 4 limiting beliefs that I see women facing when it comes to raising investment, so that more of us can stop convincing and start closing. Which leads to the first limiting belief I see a lot, which is that we think that we need to work so hard to convince people to invest in us. Actually, it's not about convincing, it's about inviting. And that's where I come to an analogy I like to think of a scale. Like imagine a weighing scale where you've got women on one side and investors here. And we're like down here and the investors up here and we're thinking, oh, please, please, please invest in me. Like this would be amazing. Let's work really hard to convince each other. But in reality, you and the investor are actually in the value same in the scale. And so we don't need to work so hard to convince because we have so much inner conviction that our value is equal, if not more than them, because actually we're giving them an opportunity right now to invest in something and get an amazing value back. And so that inner conviction and belief is something that I think I had going back in the day as a young entrepreneur going out to raise investment for the first time, that no matter what, whether I get your money or not, I'm going to succeed and this business is going to succeed. And it has to come from that inner conviction that your value and worth and what you're offering through your business is super valuable to them. And you don't have to convince anyone, you're just inviting them to be part of the opportunity. And so that's why I recommend also listening to my guided visualization video, which you can find in the link below, and really take the time to meditate, think and pray about your inner conviction from God and why you're sent here to do what you're doing, which I think will really help you to stop convincing and start closing when it comes to investment. Belief number 2 that I see a lot of is about the economy. And that's because a lot of us think that our investment potential hinges on the state of economy. Now, yes, the economy does have some impact on people's spending, but in times of a downturn, it's actually sophisticated investors who know that there are big opportunities out there to be had. Because in a downturn, it's often the startups that come up with new revolutionary ideas and transform things. So you can be offering those opportunities and knowing that for the right people and the right investors, the top investors you actually want to be working with, they will still see an opportunity. And even if you don't come across those people so easily, you can still be going into meetings with investors prepared to answer and show your plans about what you're going to do despite a downturn, or potentially if a downturn happens, that's something you should already be thinking about in your business and have plans and prepared for. Third limiting belief that I see a lot of people struggling with is that they think they have to message loads and loads of people and loads of investors to get a meeting. Now, this often doesn't work. As you know, you will get lots of rejections, lots of lack of responses and replies. Versus the methodology that I teach in the program about finding aligned investors. And this begins with getting really deep and intentional initially on yourself in what you value and what you recognize in other people, and focusing on a few targeted people you believe really align with you, and reaching out to those people with intention, with purpose, with specific asks and requirements as to why them. And this is simply something that you can't do at a mass scale. So I'd recommend going back to really think about who aligns with your business and focusing on a few key people, because you only need a few people to say yes anyway. So why not focus on them versus wasting your time messaging hundreds and hundreds of people? Fourthly, the limiting belief that I see a lot of women have is that they feel like they have to be prepared to answer a load of questions. Yes and no. Obviously, you will get some hard questions, but even if you have a question which you don't particularly feel confident knowing the answer to in the moment, you can still react with ease and grace for yourself by actually being honest. Because the number one goal out of any investor conversation is the relationship. The relationship has so much value that we just don't recognize in comparison to the money that we think we're chasing in our heads. But in reality, the number one thing you can do is build a relationship with an investor, and that is built on trust and honesty. And so if you get a hard question and you're not sure how to answer it, don't rush into creating some kind of nonsense. Just slow down and say, to be honest, I'm not sure, but this is what I'm thinking, and invite them into the conversation by asking them how they are potentially expecting you to respond, or ask them for feedback into how you're thinking about responding. And you can always get back to them as well after a meeting. So we shouldn't be limiting ourselves and getting stressed out thinking we have to answer loads and loads of questions before the call. Of course, we want to be prepared, but of course, we want to be honest. Developing the relationship is the most valuable thing you can do, and that comes down to trust and honesty. So I hope these 4 tips helped you about limiting beliefs, and I hope that you'll continue to work through these things and not bring them into the meeting, and recognize that your value and worth is equal, if not more, than the investors.